What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're breaking down the October 17, 2022 edition of Raw Talk. Jackie Redmond, Matt Camp in the studio. To start off the show, they run down the biggest headlines from Monday's Raw, including recapping the Brock Lesnar-Bobby Lashley brawl, which was short, sweet, straight to the point. Great way to kick off the show. Very, energetic, chaotic. Lashley standing tall, which I thought was the right call as well. They also replay Baron Corbin's Raw re-debut, if you want to call it that, and his win over Dolph Ziggler with JBL by Corbin's side. Backstage, I think it was Byron, because now they have Byron Saxton and Kathy Kelly doing the backstage interviews, and I think it was Byron. It was Byron, actually. And they don't have Sarah Schreiber doing the backstage interviews anymore. So I don't know what happened to Sarah. I heard she was not released, like I said last week. Not sure where she went off to, but they have Byron and Kathy doing the interviews now. JBL tells Byron that Baron Corbin is the modern-day wrestling god. He's bestowing his own nickname upon Baron now, and to not ask him any questions because it's all about Baron Corbin. Corbin simply says there is no limit to what he can do now with JBL by his side, and that the landscape has officially changed. Jerry Lawler, who unfortunately was the special guest analyst on this episode, praises Baron Corbin and JBL, that pairing, unsurprisingly. He also recalls Dolph Ziggler, who lost to Corbin on Raw this week. He gives Ziggler shit for, because it was Ziggler, he mentions, and this is true, that gave Lawler a heart attack, inadvertently, obviously, 10 years ago on Raw when he was dropping those repeated elbows, which I don't think Dolph does anymore and hasn't done in a long time. But he would drop those repeated elbows on his opponent. He did it to Lawler 10 years ago on Raw. Lawler has not wrestled a match on Raw since, nor fucking should he, obviously. But that was actually what gave Lawler a heart attack, or at least played a factor in that, and nearly killed Lawler that night, which thankfully he survived. Obviously, he's still on the show here. I'm glad he's alive. He should not be on Raw Talk, just my opinion. I've already had enough Lawler in the last couple of weeks between Tales from the Territory. He was on Table for 3 last week. He's on fucking Raw Talk here. Way too much Jerry Lawler. But anyway, he is looking forward to Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley 2 at Crown Jewel. They also recap Seth Rollins beating Matt Riddle to retain the United States Championship in the main event of Raw this week. We hear from Elias backstage. Elias says his return did not go according to plan. He just wanted to make his brother Ezekiel, his younger brother Ezekiel, proud. But after coming out, it was all downhill from there, and he will not forget what Rollins did to him. So he's clearly got some unfinished business with Seth Rollins. Elias and Rollins go back a few years. They had a few matches, at least 1 or 2 in 2017, but I specifically remember a series of matches they had, at least one in 2018, over the Intercontinental Championship and Money in the Bank, which ended up being one of the best Elias matches I've ever seen. That was a pretty good match. So clearly there's going to be a few there, probably after Rollins is done or in the middle of that Rollins-Ali feud currently over the championship. Lawler insults Riddle, says that he should find someone far more talented for them to say they're Matt Riddle. It was a really dumb joke. He said, he should find someone really talented to call themselves Matt Riddle, and then Matt Riddle can say he's talented. And then he kind of insults Ali by saying that Rollins is going to do the same thing to Ali that Rollins did to Riddle on Raw. He also calls the OC versus the Judgment Day at Crown Jewel a dream match. That's what he says. I'm looking forward to the match. A dream match is a bit extreme, but whatever. He also says Dominic was clearly being held back the entire time by Ray. People were claiming that Ray was being held back by Dominic. And Lawler argues that Dominic beating AJ on Raw, albeit with help from the rest of the Judgment Day, proved otherwise. They replay the AJ Styles Dominic match. Matt Camp. They let Lawler go. There was a fucking lot of Jerry Lawler on this episode. All the stuff I just mentioned was pretty much Jerry Lawler analysis. They would not stop throwing it to Jerry Lawler, which automatically took my grade for this show, which I don't grade, by the way, but if I did have grades for this show, it would automatically go down 1 full letter grade because of how much fucking Jerry Lawler we got on this episode. But anyway, Matt Camp calls Rhea Ripley the X Factor. They also recap the Damage Control win over Bianca Belair and Candice LeRae in tag team action. Kathy Kelly, or I think it was Byron. Kathy caught up with Elias, and Byron caught up with Damage Control here. So Byron asked Bayley, what can we expect? What do you guys have in store for the WWE Women's Tag Team title match on Friday's SmackDown when they're defending against Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi? Bayley draws him in close and says, kind of throws it to Io, who says, stop asking stupid questions, which was a great fucking answer to Byron Saxton's stupid question. And that was it. So a very short-lived interview, which it was better off being brief. I feel like we hear from Damage Control every fucking week, either on one of these shows or on both of these shows. I love Bayley, Io, Dakota. The group itself is kind of not lost steam. I mean, that would imply they had a lot of steam to begin with, and they did, I guess. But the booking has been weird. They really haven't clicked overall as a trio. They have good chemistry, but I don't know. It's just the group itself just isn't what it probably should be at this point, and hopefully they get that heat and they can bounce back. They won this match. They won on SmackDown last week. That's a good step in the right direction, but it still doesn't feel as hot as it should. But anyway, like I was saying, we hear from Damage Control almost every single week on Raw Talk and on Talking Smack, or rather SmackDown Lowdown, whatever. So I'm glad that this was kept brief and we didn't hear another 2-minute promo from them for no reason. To close out here, they promote the SmackDown and Raw matches for the coming week, including the aforementioned WWE Women's Tag Team title match on SmackDown, as well as Bianca Belair versus Bayley next week on Raw. They also plug Solo Sikoa and Kane for Wednesday's episode of The Bump. And that was Raw Talk in a nutshell for October 17, 2022. Pretty middle-of-the-road edition here. The Damage Control interview is inconsequential and brief, as it probably should have been. We got to hear from Elias, and we also heard from the returning Baron Corbin and JBL. So a decent episode here, hearing from some newer faces, I guess, on the Raw roster. Not a great episode. Jerry Lawler does nothing for me on Raw Talk, but the episode for what it was fine. So thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.